This video was brought to you by Noble Knight Games. More about them at the end of the video. HerStory. Votes for women. HerStory. Votes for women. HerStory. Votes for women. Hey, you sound like a suffragette. Do you want to join the American women's suffrage movement from 1848 to 1920? Sure. Want to learn about iconic women of history? You bet. Tell me all about it. In HerStory, you're an acclaimed author writing a book to tell the stories of remarkable women throughout the ages. Cool! In Votes for Women, players battle to ratify or reject the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That sounds intense. It is, but there are both competitive and cooperative styles of play available. Right on. HerStory plays 2 to 5 and takes between 30 and 60 minutes to play. Votes for Women has more components and takes a bit longer to play, more like 60 to 75 minutes, and it suits 1 to 4 players quite well. Tell me more about Votes for Women. Well, the game is asymmetrical. The suffragist side will push Congress to propose the 19th Amendment and campaign to have 36 states ratify the amendment. That sounds tough. It is, but that's the whole point. It's really hard to change people's minds, and historically, there were many people who were on the opposition side trying to prevent Congress from proposing the amendment. Failing that, if at least 13 states reject the amendment, the opposition side wins. Wow! That game dives deep into the history of congressional support and ratification of the 19th Amendment. It certainly does. And not just the history, but the emotions and sentiments of the time are palpable too. So, what's happening in HerStory? Players take turns doing research, drafting chapters, and completing them for points. Once a player has written 8 chapters, the player with the highest scoring book wins. Sounds fun! And if a player drafts a chapter with the exact research icons, they receive a bonus for all their hard work and diligence in recording these women's lives. I love bonuses. In Votes for Women, players bid with organizational buttons on really strong strategy cards at the beginning of each phase, and the player who wins the bid receives one of the 3 cards of their choice. And what happens to their buttons? All players, the winner and the loser of the bid, lose their buttons they bid with, and the suffragist player goes first, so it gives the opposition the final opportunity for these powerful cards. Gnarly! I bet that's a fun opening phase to each round, though. You bet! And after 6 rounds of strategy and operations phase, if the suffragist side hasn't won the game, it's over and the opposition wins. What's the operations phase? Oh, it's the heart of the game. Players have 7 cards in their hand each round, and they will play 1 card from their hand at a time, starting with the suffragist player until they each have just 1 card remaining. Cool. I bet there are a lot of things you can do with your cards, aren't there? You guessed right. Players can play the card as the event that's stated on the card. For example, the start card for the suffragist side is Seneca Falls Convention. Add 1 purple and 1 yellow campaigner in the Northeast region. Receive 2 buttons, and add 2 support cubes in New York. Easy enough. What else? They can also play their card as a campaigning action, which assigns supporters to their campaigners on the board. They roll a die, and it could be anywhere from 1 to 4, unless they play a card that allows them to roll the d6, possibly packing a bunch of supporters in just the right states at just the right time. This game is super thematic, and the dice rolling mimics the unpredictability of gaining supporters to either cause. There's also an organizing action, which allows players to gather more much-needed organizational buttons. And lastly, there's the lobbying action. What's the lobbying action do in Votes for Women? It's crucial for the suffragist side to gain congressional markers, and just as vital for the opposition side to remove them. Because when the 6th marker is placed in Congress, that means the 19th Amendment has been passed and now it's down to state support. You got it. Pretty neat, right? Well, what do you like about HerStory? Oh, there is so much to like. The game gives players 1 of 3 choices on their turn, and gameplay goes really quick. I love games like that. First off, there's a general market on the idea board that's central to all players. This displays the chapters available to either write or draft, along with the research tokens that are available to all players. So everyone knows what's out there and what other players might nab on their turn. One action a player can do is research. They take 1 token from the board and place it in one of their empty spots on their personal desk. Simple as that. And I bet they refill the empty space on the idea board right away. You got it. Another action a player has is draft a chapter. This is similar to research, because the player will take one of the cards from the idea board and place the card in one of their 2 available areas on their desk. And if you don't have a space, you're not allowed to take the action? That's right. And make sure to refill the empty space on the idea board. There are always 5 chapter cards and 6 research tokens available to each player on their turn. So clean and easy. The last action is my favorite one. I can't wait to hear why. A player can complete a chapter from either their own desk or from the idea board by simply returning the requisite number of research tokens required as seen on the right side of the chapter card. I love the versatility of being able to draft a chapter you've reserved just for yourself on your own desk, but also being able to write a chapter that's on display for everyone else. Well, when you complete a chapter, you then get to tell everyone at the table more about the amazing, talented woman you're writing about. And I bet these chapters offer victory points and symbol and text powers and various strategic opportunities for you during and at the end of the game. Yep. It's all printed on the cards. And this is where players can receive the exact research bonus. That's right. If a player turns in exactly the symbols required, no more, no less, they receive an additional 3 victory points. I can't wait to try HerStory. And check out that stack of amazing women in history. Right again. And I can't wait to learn more about the suffrage movement and all the historical figures that were instrumental during the late 1800s and early 1920s America. Well, it's settled. Let's play both HerStory and Votes for Women at our next game night. Deal!
Here at Noble Night Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Night Games.